Howdy folks, today I'm going to be cooking this from the Binging with Babish recipe cookbook. This is Puerco Pibil from Once Upon a Time in Mexico. This is the pork dish that was so good Johnny Depp had to go into the kitchen afterwards and shoot the chef. Hopefully it's not going to be that good today. And this is what we're going to need. A quick word on the ingredients. I won't be sticking religiously to the recipe because that's for an American sized portion, which is enough for 3 normal people. So, the juice of 4 freshly squeezed lemons, some apple cider vinegar, which you won't need unless you're going to make the pickled onion slices to go with it, some tequila, some peppers. The type of peppers that you're going to use really don't matter, just use whatever you like the taste of. We're obviously also going to need some salt. We're going to need some whole cloves, some cumin powder, black peppercorns, some white wine vinegar, and a habanero chili. Now, you can skip the habaneros entirely if you can't really tolerate extremely spicy food, but I'm going to be using just one. First thing we're going to do is we are going to lightly toast the black peppercorns and the cloves. Incidentally, if you have any amaretto seeds, you would also add them to this until they become fragrant. You don't want to burn them, so no more than a minute or 2. Next, we're transferring them to a spice grinder. This is the point where if you were going to use them, you would add your habaneros or any other dried chilies or peppers that you want to add to what is going to become our spice powder. Incidentally, if you're wondering about the cause of the plaster on my thumb, it turns out that sharp kitchen knives are sharp, and I did manage to injure myself while slicing a burger a day or 2 previously. Anyway, this is the consistency of the ground peppers and spices that you're looking for when they come out of the grinder. You really want a nice fine powder, so probably about a minute or so in the grinder. Next, you're going to take those ground spices, and this is where you're going to add them to the blender. Add the juice of your 4 squeezed lemons. Although limes are an acceptable substitute, you'll just need to use more because limes tend to be smaller than lemons. We're going to add some of the cumin powder here. This is the part where you can start to diverge from the recipe and add things according to your own taste. For example, an entire clove of peeled garlic. But whatever else you choose to add to the mix, you're definitely going to want a generous portion of white wine vinegar. It's the white wine vinegar and the lemons in particular that are going to form the principal flavour of this dish. Follow that up with a bit of salt for seasoning. And finally, a generous portion of tequila. Next, we're going to blend all of that together for a minute, no more than 2 minutes, until we get a nice, juicy, fragrant marinade. Then we're going to take that marinade and we're going to add it to whatever meat you've chosen to use. The recipe calls for pork, which is what I'm using, but obviously beef or even chicken would work just as well. Inside a waterproof bag, we're going to add the marinade, all of it. Ideally, you're going to want to be completely covering the meat. Let's take a quick look. Yeah, that's close enough for government work. Seal the bag up and then give the whole thing a good massage with your fingers. Really work that marinade into the meat. Once you're happy, you can either leave it to marinate at room temperature for 30 minutes or put it into the fridge for no more than 2 hours. Once you're happy that the marinade has had time to work its magic, this is where you're going to transfer it into a cooking vessel. Now, strictly speaking, this recipe does call for your dish to be lined with banana leaves. Now, I don't know how easy it is to get a hold of banana leaves wherever you live, and if it is easy, then by all means go ahead and do it. But if you live anywhere like me, that's next to impossible. The good news is that if you can't find any banana leaves, it doesn't really matter. Just pour the whole thing, marinade included, along with all of the meat, into your dish. At this point, trust me, it already smells delicious. Now, if you want to add anything to the dish to bulk it up, like black kidney beans that I'm using here, or pinto beans would be a perfectly acceptable substitute, this is the point where you're going to do it. We're going to slow cook this for up to 4 hours, or until the meat falls apart to the touch, at a temperature of 325 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 160 degrees Celsius. Before we commit it to the oven, however, I'm going to add some chopped shallots and a couple of bay leaves. Now, this is the point where you must seal the dish in. If you're using the banana leaves, then wrap everything up so that the banana leaves cover all of the ingredients, and then seal the top of the dish with kitchen foil. If you don't have the banana leaves, then you must ensure that you seal the top of the dish with kitchen foil. In my first attempt, I made the mistake of not doing this. I simply trusted the lid of my Dutch oven to do the job for me, and it didn't. So when I put the whole thing into an oven preheated to 325 degrees Fahrenheit or 160 degrees Celsius for up to 4 hours, or until the meat starts to fall apart to the touch, after a mere 2.5 hours, I took it out of the oven and it looked like this. Not a complete disaster. I mean, it was still edible, and I did still eat it, and it was still alright, but we really need to seal all of that moisture in by sealing off the top of that dish with kitchen foil so the whole thing can properly stew in its own juices. So, the next day, properly sealing the dish this time, I had another attempt, and this time the results were much better. How much better? Well, I think we need to call in our Portuguese judge to render a verdict. So, where's Rita when I need her? Served on a bed of basmati rice cooked with a lot of garlic. And a glass of Bordeaux claret. Rita.
It's time for me to put it to the test?
It's time for you to put it to the test.
Alright. This smells so good. Let me see. Oh. Mmm. Mmm.
I think I'm going to have to let Akizuki in, or we're just going to hear her crying in the background.
Oh.
Ruining another video.
It's very spicy. Mmm.
Well, there's a habanero in there this time. It wasn't in there last time.
Yeah, I can definitely taste that. Oh. Let me see with the rice. Mmm. Mmm. The herbs really help it. The fresh herbs. It's a nice cut.
Too spicy for your taste? Because you kept going on and on and on about how you wanted spicy food.
I can handle depth levels of curry, but this is quite nice. I like the spice.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not quite as lemony as it was last time.
I can definitely feel the zesty flavor in there, but it's not as present as last time either.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm.
So you'd have that again?
Yes.
Oh, good, because I've got another half a kilo of diced pork waiting to be used.
The pork?
Yeah.
It's very moist.
Yes.
And it just melts on your mouth. I might take a bit of that.
I'm thinking of trying something with this. Belly pork. Oh yeah.
You're gonna cook the whole thing at once?
Very probably, yes.
Alright.
You have a problem with that?
Well, I was thinking about taking one cut so I can try something for you.
Sure.
It's going to be very small.
We can do that. Anyway, there you go. Puerco Pibil from Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Very nice.
If it's any good, you have to shoot the chef.
You have to what?
If it's any good, you have to shoot the chef. Those are the rules.
Alright. Thank you.
Enjoy.